Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So this is going to be a tech related video once again, and I'm going to talk about the Canon V10 and the Osmo Pocket 3, the two very competitive cameras which are very compact and ideal for vlogging, and I know a lot of people like to compare these two, and honestly even I can't choose between the two. So let's jump right into it. Right now I am filming on my Canon V10. I am going to run through the pros and the cons of both cameras, starting with the pros. So let's start with the Osmo Pocket 3. A lot of attention lately on TikTok, on Instagram. I think everyone practically has that camera at this point, which I'm not surprised because it is a really good camera and it has very few things to dislike about. Even I love that camera. So let's talk about the pros of this camera. So first, this camera has a gimbal stabilization, which means your footage is going to look buttery smooth compared to any other cameras out there. Even the Sony cameras can't beat the smooth footage that you get from the Osmo Pocket 3, because even when you're running, the vlog just looks amazing because of its gimbal stabilization. So at this point, I don't think anything else can beat the Osmo Pocket 3 when it comes to a stabilized footage. Next, the Osmo Pocket 3 comes with a 1-inch sensor, which means even in low light situations, the clips are going to turn out pretty well. And it also has a low light setting on the camera, although I try my best not to use the low light setting because it does make me look pretty grayish and grainy. It still performs on normal mode pretty well in low lit situations. Next, it can shoot in 4K up to 120 FPS, which means if you want to do those cinematic slow-mo videos, this camera can help you achieve that. Next, this I don't even need to mention how compact and lightweight it is, which is perfect for traveling and just on the go, because honestly you can't even feel the weight of this camera. Sometimes I forget that I'm even holding it. Next up, its face tracking and active track on this camera is amazing. You don't even need someone to help you film certain clips because of its face tracking setting. It allows you to come up with more creative footage with this function. Last but not least, it has a USB-C mic support and of course its own DJI mic support. And honestly, I feel like the DJI mics just pair and are more compatible with this camera. It's just so easy to connect and use it. So I personally love using the DJI mic that I got with the creator combo. So that sums up the pros of the Osmo Pocket 3 camera. Now let's talk about the pros of the Canon V10 camera. So the first thing that I noticed about this camera is it comes with an integrated stand. So you don't even need a tripod or an external accessory to place this anywhere. Compared to the Osmo, you do need to have something attached to it to make it stand. But with this Canon V10, it comes with a built-in stand, which makes it so convenient to shoot, especially on, tabletop videos or any flat surfaces that you can open the stand and just place it. It's just so convenient. Another thing that I love about the Canon V10, it has a flip screen and the screen is pretty large. It's large enough where you can go through its menu and the menu is pretty intuitive. So I really like that about the Canon V10 because it's large enough to make sure that you can tell that you're in frame from far away. Just to play around with the settings in general, I think the screen size is just nice. Next, of course, the V10 is super compact. It's basically a size of a credit card. I don't know if a camera can get any more compact and shoot high quality videos like this one. So I have to give it to Canon for coming up with such a compact camera and having the ability to shoot such high quality videos. So another thing that I noticed about the V10 is that you can do direct live streamings to your social medias without any external softwares, which I just feel like that's just mind-blowing, because with any other cameras you need a lot of softwares and connections, and the footage sometimes when you're doing live streaming can get pretty crusty and laggy. Last but not least, this camera is a budget-friendly camera. A lot of other YouTubers out there, they claim that $1,000 over camera is budget friendly, but I'm sorry, that to me is not budget friendly. However, this camera is $500, so that, I think if you're a beginner starting to vlog, it is pretty budget friendly and it does not do that much damage to your wallet. Now we shall move on to the negatives of these cameras. And of course there are going to be negatives, because with any cameras there will be something bad to say about it. There's no one camera that's perfect and does every single thing. So let's start with the Osmo Pocket 3. One thing that I do not like about this camera that much is that the screen is pretty small compared to the V10, which I did mention in one of my previous videos, because sometimes when you place the camera far away, you cannot really see if you're taking whatever that you intended to take, whether it's in frame or if you're capturing the right shots and stuff like that. So I think in that sense the Canon V10 is better because of the screen size. Another thing that I do notice about the Osmo Pocket 3 is that it does not come with an inbuilt stand like the Canon V10, and it does not have a tripod thread like the V10. The Canon, you can just screw in a tripod directly to the camera without any additional accessories, but with the Osmo you do need that additional cube accessory attached to the camera in order to use a tripod. So that can be quite frustrating sometimes, because you need to carry more stuff with you, and it just makes the camera longer because you need more attachments. So in that sense the V10 is definitely a win, because lesser accessories, pretty straightforward. Also, the Osmo Pocket 3 I think is less intuitive, because it comes with a lot of functions sometimes, and I know that a lot of people recommend using it on D-Log to color grade and all that stuff. So if you're a beginner, I feel like the Canon V10 wins, because it's pretty straightforward. Its menu is beginner friendly. You don't need to do so much of digging into the settings and stuff like that. So the last negative thing that I have to say about the Osmo Pocket 3 is that it is more pricier compared to the V10. And if you're not getting the creator combo, you're pretty much missing out on a lot of accessories. And even with the creator combo, you still need to get additional accessories in order to make this camera fully functionable, if that makes sense. Whereas with the V10, it's pretty straightforward and on the go. You don't need all that additional stuff. So now that I've spilled the tea with the Osmo Pocket 3, we of course need to throw some shade at the V10 as well, and I do have some. So the V10 is not a gimbal camera, so that means shaky footage when you're on the go, no stabilization. And I'm pretty sure for those of you guys who watched my vlog where I did test out the V10, when I was outside in public and when I was just walking through, the camera was pretty shaky, and that's the footage that you do get with the V10 when you're walking and your hands are shaky, and I've got really shaky hands as it is. So you're not gonna get that buttery smooth footage that you get from the Osmo. The V10 has a smaller 1-inch sensor, which means it is going to perform weaker in low light situations, which I do need to agree, because I've put both cameras side by side under the same low light situation, and the DJI performs slightly better. And so for low light situations, I think the Osmo Pocket 3 does function better. So another thing about the V10 is that it has limited frame rates. So unlike the Osmo Pocket 3, this camera cannot shoot up to 4K 120 FPS. So which means no slow-mo videos, no cinematic footage. So if you are more onto that kind of vibes, then V10 is not for you. So last but not least, the V10 comes with a fixed lens, which means you don't have the flexibility to play around with a zoom-in lens or wide angle lens. However, the camera does come with a pretty wide angle lens as it is, but if you're going for the more zoomed in shots, I must say the lens is not interchangeable Whereas with the Osmo Pocket 3, you can get those magnetic lens attachments. And also on the topic of lens, the V10 does not come with a lens protection case or casing or a cover. So what I had to do is I had to get an attachment to place it over, to stick it over the lens, and so that I can cover the lens when the camera is in my bag. Otherwise, I'm telling you, I probably would have scratched the lens by now, and it just stopped me from bringing the camera out a lot. And now that I have the lens protection on, I feel safer to bring this camera out because I'm really clumsy. So that pretty much sums up the pros and cons of these two cameras. There's no best camera, to be honest, because I love both of these cameras, and if you ask me, I cannot choose between these two cameras because I just love both of them. They both are good in their own ways, so I'm not going to choose one. But of course, if you are starting out and you want to choose just one camera that's budget friendly, I would say the V10 is pretty good for a start, because with the Osmo Pocket 3, as much as it gets all that hype, you need additional accessories which can cost, which is quite costly, to be honest. So that pretty much sums up today's tech video. For those of you guys who stayed till the end, thank you so much for hearing and appreciating what I have to say about these cameras, and I'll see you guys on my next video.